Hey everybody, this is Jim,
I'm Eric.
and this is Kicking It with Jim and Eric. My back in the saddle again, friend.
Back again. Yes, we are.
We probably won't kick off with an Aerosmith song today, but we are back in the saddle.
Back in the saddle again.
There it is. I was hoping you was going to come through for me.
Yeah. Hey, 80s and 90s.
80s and 90s, man. It was the best country, the best rock.
Oh, my gosh. Music was just way better back then.
Music was music.
Yeah.
I watched, I saw a video the other day. That guy's name is Zach
Top.
Zach Top.
Mm-hmm. Alan Jackson's child.
Man, it's got to be, huh?
That's what they say.
I mean, he has restored country music, or
somebody needs to.
Yeah. Well, where's your notebook? We're gonna put that down for the next week's sermon.
They need to sick Elon Musk over on the country music genre. Somebody stole country music.
I don't know if that was intentional or what, but Elon Trump, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, he kind of just fell out of there. Elon Trump.
That was good. That was real good. Man, we got into, we left the book of Acts again and got into Romans.
We did.
I like your comment this morning, how much you love the book of Romans.
I do. I love the book of Romans. There's so much instruction in the book.
Lots of teaching in Romans.
Yeah.
And we had some teaching this morning.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty good. We had a good day, good crowd, good worship service, tops. I mean, it was, all in all, it was a good day.
It was a good day, and we're only halfway through it.
That's right.
We still got another half of greatness to come.
Me and Miss Shannon got to go to a birthday party at 2, and for one of the grandbabies.
Oh, yeah?
Looking forward to that, yeah.
Which one?
Actually, it's a combo, the two boys.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of near, like March and May, so they just throw them in, put them in the arena, and everybody have a party. So they'll be out there roping and riding and
getting
dirty and having fun.
Yeah.
Do all the stuff that little cowboy kids do.
That's what they do, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's gonna be fun. Of course, there's somebody has some cake, and I'll enjoy that.
Well, I'm not one to say that I eat a lot of cake, but I'd be lying if I said I lived off lettuce.
Yeah. Well, what's the old saying? What's the Indian word for vegetarian?
That's right. One.
Bad hunter.
Bad hunter. Oh, ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
So, what we got this week?
Well, this week we talked about Jesus paid it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus paid it all in full. I started out talking about how because I pastor a church and preach, and all you guys out there that preach, you know what I'm about to say. A lot of times on Sunday after church, when you're sitting at the restaurant, somebody is going to come by and pick up your ticket. A lot of times, not every time, but it's something that happens fairly regularly, and I appreciate everybody out there that does that. But it's a good feeling to know that somebody thinks enough of you to go up there and do that.
I better believe it.
Even if it's something just a meal. I mean, it means a lot that somebody's, let me do that for you.
I may start reconsidering going to lunch with you.
See, I've been trying to tell you.
But it does feel good.
Yeah.
And it feels good when it kind of feels unmerited in a way.
Yeah, it does.
That someone just says, hey, I just want to be kind.
That's right. And it's just a way of saying, I guess their way of saying, thank you, we love you, and we want to do this for you. So on a much grander scale, look what Jesus did.
Exactly right.
I mean, I know there's really no comparison, but I think maybe done with the right heart. But, when Jesus, man, Jesus paid it all. I mean, everything, every sin that was ever committed or will be, past, present, and future, the Bible tells us. Mm-hmm. Jesus had all that on his back, and he went to the cross with it, and he said, it's finished.
I like the analogy you used this morning, talking about the devil and how Jesus comes over and puts his hand and says, no, I got this.
Man, that was a cool story. Let me tell you, let's just go ahead and tell that story real quick. I was listening to the radio yesterday, and it's always amazing how God gives you something, especially if you got a message coming up, God will always give you a little something. But yesterday I was listening to the radio, and the guy was telling a story about this little boy went into a little grocery store, and he picked up a little pack of gum, bubble yum, and he put it on the counter, and it was like 50 cents. Well, he reached down in all of his pockets feeling around, and he come out with 2 pennies, and he put the pennies up on the cash register, the counter, and the cashier was like, that ain't enough. And there's a little elderly lady standing behind the boy, and she reaches in her. You remember those little flowery zipper, little coin purses, So she reached in her little coin purse and she grabbed a dollar bill and she put it over those 2 pennies, and she said, "That ought to cover it." And it's kind of the way when we come to Christ with just our sin. That's all we can bring to our salvation is just our sin, and the devil says that's not enough. And then Jesus just puts those nail-scarred hands over our hands, and he says, "I think that'll cover it."
Right.
What an analogy that was! And I said, "Man, that's good." He paid it all.
And how many times does the devil actually say, "You're not enough"?
Every day.
I mean, every day. I mean, we can make ourselves either the change in our pockets that says you're not enough to cover it. We can take the analogy where the devil just says you're not good enough to be in heaven. Now, the truth of that is we're really not.
No.
But because of Jesus, he makes us good enough to be in there.
Exactly. That's what makes it so. That's why when he paid it all, I don't even think we have any idea of what that means, because we weren't going to heaven.
Right.
We're not going to heaven. We're headed the other direction.
And like you said, thank you, Adam.
We're just inherited with that.
Right.
I mean,
it's just the way it is.
That's right. But Jesus said, "I'm gonna make it possible for you to join me in heaven, and you don't have to do anything."
And the simplicity of salvation causes people not to grasp how easy it can really be.
That's right. I mean, when we see it as so simple, childlike.
Yes.
And people's like, "No, it's got to be a little more something to it.
Got to be a catch.
We got to add something to it. We got to, we got to go and do this, say this many prayers, or do something. We got to add something to it.
Right.
It can't be that easy."
Well, and I think that goes right back to the devil. He says, "Oh, look, you're not just going to get by with very little. You're going to have to earn your way into it. You have to, there's probably even some people that feels, we know this, we've seen it, that you have to buy your way, or you have to donate your way, or contribute your way. And that's just all devil.
The devil's saying, why in the world would you think that you could get into heaven?
God, your creator, did this.
All right.
He made his son.
Yeah.
He let his son die, and you really think you're going to go there with him?
Yeah. You obviously are not good enough.
I mean, I don't know how many times we can drive down a highway and think that a similar scenario has played in our own minds. I mean, it's easy to get played on by the devil.
No.
One of the things I heard one time, and it reminded me this morning when you was talking about that, Jesus' place in hand, was the devil doesn't want God to have us, but he doesn't want us either.
No.
So I'm going to keep you away from God, but I don't need you once I get you away from him. And so his constant battles and fights to make sure that we don't get any closer is that's the silliness of non-salvation.
Yeah. It's kind of like one of them crazy romance thrillers that you see sometimes, whenever a guy says, "I don't want you and I don't want anybody else to have you," and then every relationship that she tries to have with somebody after that, he's trying to mess it up. But
that's the Lifetime Network.
Yeah.
The Hallmark Network, that's a whole other type of love story.
Love comes softly.
That's a Hallmark story could be a little bit closer to God.
That's right.
What a beautiful
Hallmark
story.
says love comes softly, and that other one you was talking about says love comes harshly.
Yeah, and the man's always the killer.
Always. Well, I don't know. Sometimes it's not. I seen one the other day where the woman was the killer.
Really? On Lifetime?
No.
Oh.
No, it wasn't on Lifetime. But you're right. The man is always the killer.
I was trying to catch you to see if you're a Hallmark TV watcher.
Yeah, I used to be, and we used to watch some of it, but I don't know. We're mostly Andy Griffith.
Yeah, I know you're a big Andy fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean those were the days of morals and values. or at least better than what we got right now.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we think about how much he did pay, and then like you was talking about this morning, we're not going to ever stop sinning, and Jesus just keeps, here you go. He just gives another pay voucher. Just keeps getting us on them subways all the way around, all around town.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times the reason why people get frustrated in their walk and when they're a new Christian is because they still sometimes give in to those worldly things, that they're trying to get away from, and it don't necessarily happen like that. I mean, once we get delivered from things, we still struggle with stuff.
And will. And if you don't struggle with the things you did in the beginning, you're going to have a new struggle towards the middle and end of your journey. I mean, I don't know why.
Exactly.
I mean, I can't explain why these things happen, but they do happen.
So let me say this right here to you. I'm going to lean in and say this right here to you, young believer, to you, new Christian. If you're struggling with something and you feel like you're not getting victory over it, you just keep getting up every day, keep getting up every day, and just because you slip today does not mean you can't find grace and mercy tomorrow, because Jesus went to the cross and he paid in full for every sin that you have committed or ever will commit. Don't let the devil tell you that it's over with because you slipped.
Right. I think that is such an important message for we get in the habit of leaving that part off on the message of salvation.
Yeah.
Jesus saves, you're talking about this morning.
Yeah.
Jesus saves, all right, we can close the Bible and go to the house now.
Yeah.
This is, we heard this message last Sunday, we'll hear it again in 3 Sundays, and it's not that you're a redundant pastor by no means.
But that's the message.
But that's the message. And then it gets left off.
Yeah.
And we don't tell people, hey, you're gonna stumble.
Sure.
And then, like you said, the new believers, and even sometimes us, we get to where we start stumbling. We see ourselves stumbling, and we go, oh, we fell from grace. We're done.
I can't do it.
Yeah, devil wins.
No, you can't do it.
Yeah, and then we never go back to God.
Yeah.
And it's that, I kind of feel like I say this a lot, but it goes back to staying in communication with God and reading and praying.
Oh, and
not doing that. We do that veering off and venturing off.
You got to get in that right there every day.
Yep. Whatever version we need to get into.
Whatever version you got, read it. Just read it. That's the main thing.
Exactly. And I'm gonna get on that subject because I feel like it.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Listen, I'm not going to say that there's not versions that maybe I wouldn't agree with in some scriptures and text because of verbiages and how important the Hebrew language was transitioning into English. But man, if you don't read any of it, it ain't going to do it.
How do you know?
Exactly.
How do you going to recognize the enemy if you don't look at your Bible, if you don't open your Bible?
You have to. You have to understand his plan of attack. The plan of attack is here.
Yeah.
It's all in it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the cheat code to every video game. Back in our younger days when we had Ataris.
Yep.
I remember there was little pamphlets you could get, and it'd show you how to complete the game. Mm-hmm. This is the pamphlet, but it's not a game. It's the real deal right here. But
even if you start out with one of those versions that are a little sketchy, that are a little soft, I think if you go into those looking for understanding, and you're a new believer, and you keep reading that, and then you keep reading that, I think you're going to have a hunger that makes you want to find a translation that's going to feed you more and better.
I agree.
But the main thing is to keep reading.
Yes. One of the things you also said today, I just love today's message. You was talking about how many married couples, some of the fights and struggles they have is because of debt. Yeah. And when you said that, I was like, well, shoot, that's what we go through. We wake up every morning and go, man, we got a debt to Jesus, and we see that we can't pay that debt back, and then
because that's a struggle.
That's where that's the beginning of the struggle.
Yeah.
And sometimes the struggle is that we don't recognize that debt.
Yeah.
And like you talked about earlier, we don't fully grasp and understand the importance of what Jesus did for us.
No, what we're talking about in the sermon was, there's been a lot of young couples that their marriage didn't make it because of debt.
Yep.
They just it just got in. They drove a wedge in, and just sometimes they can't fight against it.
And in today's times, it's getting harder not to be in debt.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, whether it's cars, give a plug to Jeep real quick. We was talking about the Wagoneer.
Yeah.
There is not a cheap Wagoneer.
No.
I mean, you get a lower package.
No, you said a Jeep Wagoneer or a cheap Wagoneer?
Yeah. Either way, there is no cheap Jeep, is there?
No.
But it's not, and maybe we could get by with the. You remember the Yugo?
Oh man, yeah.
What was that, $2,900 or $3,900?
Brand new,
brand spanking new.
Yeah, I hope that's okay. I don't know.
Did
what
we
that
edit
was.
that?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, whoever it is, they're okay because the noise kept going.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably them ladies back there trying to clean up the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, we hadn't heard one of you guys come help.
Yeah.
Or we hadn't heard help. Or
Call 911.
Scream. So that's a positive.
Exactly right.
Positive sign.
Yeah.
Well, man, we had a good week.
We did have a good week.
We got a good week coming.
Yep.
Got a good Bible study tonight.
Yes. Acts chapter 8.
Oh man, I don't know why it feels like. I mean, I haven't been to them, but I don't know why it feels like we should be
Further
along than 8.
Well, we missed Easter weekend.
Oh, that's right. That was one. Yeah, and then we
did the last one at the one last week was at the arena.
Yep. So there we
had a big crowd, man. We had our just kind of a fellowship and sort of a play day for some of the little kids out there, and we went ahead and did our Bible study out there in the arena. Mm-hmm. And man, we all the people that came stayed for Bible study. It was a big crowd, and I enjoyed it.
Right.
I did. Yeah.
And I won't get into a lot of the church financial business, but we just had this huge rummage sale. This is to kind of help us with our outreach ministry. Never in the world of, do you think we could, or do you think it would be possible to do the numbers that we did? And I think that it started with a group of people who said, we need to pray about it, get started on it, and it just happened.
It happened. And God took over.
God, boy, you're talking about God taking the reins.
Exactly right.
I heard this the other day, and it really made me kind of laugh and open my eyes. We talk about that song, Jesus Take the Wheel. Mm-hmm. But there was a follow-up to that, and they said, God doesn't steer parked cars. So we got to head in a direction somewhere.
Hey, I like that. I got
sermon. That's exactly right. Well, man, let's get out of here.
All right.
Let's go to the house or
I'm
wherever.
ready.
I mean, I got a lot of places to go, but let's get at it. This is Jim.
I'm Eric.
And this is Kicking It with Jim and Eric.